Hey, it's the Chief bonding with board games, and we're live just with the Chief's vlog. We haven't done this in a while, and I thought, well, one, I wanted to come on, and then two, it's been an interesting gaming year for me. So I'll talk about it. Some hints are here. So you've got some of the new stuff, the expansion I got for North Africa for Tank Duel. You've got me almost selling Here I Stand, and then opening the box to take a look at it kind of before I posted it on eBay, and seeing the Martin Luther card and saying, I'm going to learn this. And it's on my table, but I haven't fully learned it yet. I do have a stable of gamers that are ready to come in, some more history fans than gaming fans, so that'll be interesting. And then Twilight 2000 coming out from Free League out of Sweden, their 4th edition. But we will talk about me having the 2nd edition that came out like 89-ish, and me having the 1st edition, which came out in like 83, 84, and the role playing that I started doing with this 4th edition with a show that I'm able to do with Dan Pancaldi from No Enemies Here. He's a hoot. And Ron Nicholson, who comes in from Ohio. And I'll touch on the comment that's in my description page, which is the shrinking of the world, on display by the fact that I can do a role-playing game, which feels like they're in the room, and Ron's in Ohio and Dan is in Canada. So the amazingness of what is going on with that, and how it literally puts us all in the same shared space. So that's what we will be talking about this time. I'm going to wait until we get a few more people in the room. I'm going to enjoy, as you can tell by some of the whiskey behind me, I have a second show, way more popular than the obscure board gaming show I have called Scotch Test Dummies, and Paul John, which is an Indian whiskey. They've sent us, they always send us their Christmas edition. This is a Christmas edition 2021, and it has a beautiful kind of pine and caramel and kitchen spices flavor. Very nice. And it's very interesting. It's done like it's very much in a Scotch tradition, but of course from India, so it is not Scotch. But that's what I'll be enjoying. So there's Ron. Ron is checking in. Let me throw that on there. So Ron, as I'd mentioned early on, is one of the role players with the Twilight 2000 4th edition, and we've been having a great time on that. What's been very interesting, so I'll touch on that now since Ron came in, is the analytics for a YouTube channel will show you an interesting trend line. It shows returning viewers that have subscribed to your channel, which is always nice, and thank you. There's a plug if you want to go subscribe. And then it'll show you brand new viewers. So viewers that have come that month or whatever, you can do 90 days or a week or whatever, but that have come in a period of time that are brand new, that were somehow saw a video that attracted them in. And when I started doing Twilight 2000, there was a huge spike in brand new viewers, probably the role-playing folks that enjoy that type of gaming, or the folks that have fond memories of Twilight 2000 that saw it and then clicked on it. So it was, again, the board gaming channel I have, Bonding with Board Games, this one you're on now, is a small channel, but the spike of interest was of interest to me. It showed a lot of new viewers, about 10 times more for that month that came in to check that out. On that same vein, I'm really enjoying it. Just selfishly, personally, I'm really enjoying this role-playing mode that I'm doing with Ron and Dan. Now, I've been doing Fate Core for a while now. My son he prefers role-playing over board gaming, and we've been doing Fate Core. And Fate Core is a story-first, theater of the mind, no maps, really, unless you hand draw something. And I found myself enjoying that version as well. And Twilight 2000 is it's supposed to have a little bit more of a tactical rules with maps and movement. I'm going to do a review of it. The problem is I love tactical war games, and this is a role-playing game that tries to throw some tactical stuff in, but it leaves me wanting because I love my tactical war games. So I've kind of ditched that. We haven't, obviously, being online anyway, I haven't been able to use the maps or secondary camera. I have gotten Foundry, which is a whole nother thing to learn. Think Vassal on playing war games online. Foundry is for RPGs online. Very visually attractive. I definitely will learn it. But right now, Ron, Dan, and I are doing way more theater of the mind, and I've kind of taken away some of the crunchy slowdown rules for Twilight 2000. And I'm kind of layering it in as we go anyway. So that touches a little bit on Twilight. We'll come back to that. Again, I haven't even gotten to kind of what I think of the year 2021. But with Ron coming in, that was perfect. Uva is in. Hey, Chief, been a while. Yeah, I haven't done, a vlog in a while. Trevor Just and I, as schedules allow, we will be doing our most anticipated for 2022. And we'll do then a companion piece of what games we liked or enjoyed. Not what I'm doing now, but it'll be a list of 5 of the games that I played during 2021 that I really enjoyed and what he enjoyed. So we'll be doing that in a ham tag vein. I'm still open if Judd wants to do any ham tags at one point. We're doing so many. I think there's a little bit of burnout there, or hey, what's new? What can we add to it? And here's the way I feel about this channel, and it's the worst way you could do for a business. I'm not trying to run the channel as a business at all. What I love about it is the ability to talk about games with this community of gamers, and then of course it's refined down, and then the branching I've done, which we'll talk about a little bit today, into RPGs, which harken me back to the 80s and how that's been going. And then again, what I believe is going on with YouTube. Well, this is nothing novel, but it's as important, I believe. This may be a grand statement, as like the invention of the printing press and the Gutenberg Bible, and how the binding of books and the making of books was just the price just drastically dropped. Well, what YouTube is allowing to happen, and what will continue to proliferate, and hopefully in all kinds of different channels, is it's so cheap and easy. It really just takes your time and a little bit of expense to put out the content. And that means you can put out content that 180 people will watch. So we've got some Twilight 2000 views, upwards of 500. That's still really small worldwide, obviously, but you can reach these small little niche groups. And I'm not trying to reach PewDiePie or the beast level stuff. That's great for them. That's cool, making tons of money. But I'm just enjoying the gaming world. So it is a blast to be able to do that. And then to be able to collaborate with Ron and Dan in a role-playing game. Neither of them had ever played. Well, there was some role-playing, but nothing of this nature. To be able to do it over the internet, though, over YouTube, over using StreamYard, my live service, and to have that shrink down distance, it really feels like they could just be sitting in the house. It's that amazing. And again, the ability, the ease of which we can do it. On that note, we'll always do a sound check. You guys let me know, how's my sound? I'm using a new mic that puts the mic closer to my face. The mic's up here, rather than down here. And I'm hoping, now that I bumped it, I'm hoping that the sound will be better. So if somebody has something, let me know. I'd like to confirm the sound's good. I did a little test on here and it sounded fine, but you never know. Sometimes I have a wacky connection, or sometimes the setting will be off or something. And I was sharing this mic with my son for his show. And okay, audio 8x10. Okay, cool. Audio is fine, Jeffrey. All right, thank you. All right, good deal. I've got the gain down a little bit because I have grandkids here and they squeal and yell. So let's see. Thank you for the sound check. Well, let's see. We got some more eyeballs in here, and we're about 10 minutes in. So I'll talk a little bit more directly, and then we'll kind of free form, and I'll answer questions and stuff. So as far as the new that's come around is Tank Duel North Africa. The expansion number 1 has come in. I've actually filmed everything. I've been editing. It requires the base game, which I find a little interesting, and I do make comments to that in the review, and we'll talk a little bit about it here. But for those that haven't played Tank Duel or looked at it, it is a deck of cards that drives the action. Think Title Bout, if you ever played the old Avalon Hill or the new Title Bout 2 version that Trunzo's put out. You flip a card, to see, if you hit, you flip a card then to see, so here you're seeing, did you hit the tank? Did you penetrate the tank? Or if the tank's on fire, can your crew get it out? These are all card flips. There's no dice rolling. It's a 100-card deck, and you're looking at numbers both for, hey, did I hit? And then there's even a little subset of the first, the tens digit, did I penetrate, if I'm remembering that right. So on this note, the interesting thing is expansion number 1, as said, requires the base game. You have a deck of 100 cards. This comes with about, I don't know, I'm going to make it up here, about 60 or 70 cards that you then go in and replace from the deck that's in the original game, which is based in Russia. Those cards all have things to do with North Africa, dust and the terrain, and Scrub is got a different visual, and of course they got a little Africa core kind of palm tree that's on there that shows you the difference. But because of that, it comes with just a baseline rule set to show you the new rules. I'll talk about briefly: night fighting, dust storms. When your tanks move, there's dust that blows because of your movement. It can give cover to other tanks. You have new rules for infantry that you can use in here, a little more crunchy. AT guns, they even include AT guns, both big and small, for the Russian side of it. Cool. We're getting some stuff here. That game is really difficult to get your hands on up here in Canada. Interesting. Lots of the expansions are available, though. Well, that is part of what was interesting to me. I was a little surprised. Now, because of the way they did it, you don't have to have the full rule book. You just got the rules additions. You don't have a whole separate playbook. The playbook's in there. The scenarios are in there. So it's got to be a little cheaper for them to produce. Of course, you get tons of new tanks that come in this. That's the big thing, is your tank board is the only board in here. And you as my opponent or opponents will have tank boards. And the zero, the no man's land between us, just this fictional space on the table, is zero. So if I'm at 400 meters and your tank's at 400 meters, we're 800 meters away from each other. And the play is abstracted. And there's a lot of theater of the mind involved with the game, which is one thing I'm tying back into some of the role playing. The role playing I'm doing, I love theater of the mind. So this hits me in a very nice spot. I like it. I like the card flipping as well. But you got to know where you're looking at. And of course, it flows as you get a feel for it. You're looking, I just want to see if I'm on fire. Well, I blew up or whatever. But it's card flips. What was interesting is I'm pretty sure the base game's out of print right now. So that means if you buy this, which they had tons of pre-P500 stuff for it. So no problem. And for the tank pack, which just adds tanks. But I was a little surprised. So I thought, again, I don't know their finances, GMT or anything, but if they'd done it as a separate standalone game, it would have served as yet another entry point. We end up with, the shipping problems going on. And then, of course, there's the printing backlogs. And if you were brand new to the system, you wouldn't be able to start with this because it requires the base game. But again, that's their supply, demand, and all what they have going on. GMT is big enough. I'm sure they can put in an order. And when they do for the base game Tank Duel, they can put in enough of a heavy order that they could make it so they almost always have it in stock. So I get it. But right now, you can't just buy this and go play. I thought that was just a little odd. But there'll be more of that in my review. Again, it has nothing to do with the game. I love the game. I just thought it'd be a good jumping off point. But I also philosophize in my review. I'm pretty sure they could have a Kursk expansion. They could have Battle of the Bulge expansion. They could do so many very cool things with the system. Think War of Tanks, which I've never played, but I got a buddy that has that first-person shooter kind of thing, but your tank. And this is the tanks in a board game fashion with cards with a lot of the detail abstracted to keep it fun and relevant. Let me see what we got going on here. We got Ron, agree, audio 8x10. Sounds a tad hollow, for lack of a better word. But nothing serious. Okay, a tad hollow. Interesting. All right, I'm continuing to try to mess with this now that I got this mic stand. I was trying to get it closer to my mouth. But we'll see. Maybe I need one of these, cranes things that comes around and then you're right up on it. Let's see. What do we got here? Hey, Chief. I have the base game, but I haven't got it to the table. How does it play Solitaire? So they have a bot, Jason Carr, GMT1. They have a bot system for it. I think they're calling it something else. I can't remember what it's called. I'll be honest with you. I like playing both to the best of my ability. Now, that means, though, if I'm playing both sides, I can tell what their cards are, what they're likely to do, and the bot system puts that fog of war back in. I haven't really messed around with the bot system. It looks fine, but I didn't play with the bots. So I wanted to play both sides, get a feel for it, because the cards are definitely a fog of war. If I have cards that are only going to allow me to do some movement, well, maybe I can move, try to get into cover, but I don't even have a shoot card. So there is some hidden hand information that's key, obviously. And if you're using the bot, it does some different things with cards. But again, I haven't messed with it. I don't mind playing both sides the best of the ability, even though realizing, hey, I know that guy's going to move. The best situation is if, although I have not played this with Judd. I would love to get Judd over here and we play and go head to head. But I've only played it Solitaire with me playing both sides at this point in time. Kind of with COVID, that's been the issue a lot. My son will oftentimes jump in and play something with me, but he wasn't interested in this at all. Again, he loves role playing. So, and I thought maybe this would get him just because the tank thing, but much to my sadness, he does not like World War II very much. I'm like, come on, boy. Much like my dad's sadness. My dad loved working on old cars and didn't care for history. That's not the case. I loved history for some unknown reason. I was so attracted to it in World War II that I was devouring books and games. And I think he looked at me always a little odd. Like, why? Why is he doing that? I don't know, Dad. I remember he saw B-17 Queen of the Skies, my first game. I was 13 and I'm reading the rules. And he said, let me look at that. And he grabbed it and he's reading it. And he goes, this is a game? I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. I'm going to be up in the air flying B-17s and have a crew. And he was like, He came to games later, which is why we'll get into Here I Stand in a little bit. Although he and I didn't get a chance to play that. Who's the old lady behind you? Who's the old lady behind you? If you're talking about the Pete symbol, that is actually a futuristic android, not an old lady, if that's what you're talking about. So the Boom, we did a 12-hour straight show of live guests from all around the world, mostly Scotland, Ireland, and the United States. And we do whiskey stuff, and it was a 12-hour show. The other side was we did a big thing on peat whiskey. That is peat moss smoked whiskey grain to dry it out. And that is our futuristic android, where my hat has this is our whiskey Spartan. And we have the android and we have the Spartan helmet, old and new, if that makes sense. So that is Tank Duel. Again, my review, I've literally almost got the editing done. And I will reference back to the actual gameplay in the first one. Here I focus on just the differences that are in play, the night attacks, those kind of things. So if you enjoy cards, let me keep this up, but I'll keep it in the background. I think you'll enjoy this game. I always thought there should be more card stuff going on. Jim Trunzo from Title Bout 2 did a whole gladiatorial version with cards. I love it. He'd sent me the game. I reviewed it, played it with my son. He had fun with it. It's extremely fun and tactical gladiatorial combat. I had gladiators from Avalon Hill in the day, but it always left me wanting a little bit. You kind of have that movement is the key, but it does weird, wonky things because you're moving based on where they were, not where they are. I enjoyed it so much. He later put up different cards for different types of gladiators, and I went and purchased those on my own at quite the expense. So you forget what GMT is able to do by having a P500 and then producing a lot all at once. They're able to, and then doing it in China, they're able to drive that cost way down. And Trunzo is self-publishing these cards. I don't know where he gets them printed, but they're in small lots, and he doesn't have 2,000 pre-orders. So you're paying quite the premium to get a deck of cards about like this, to have these different types of fighters and stuff, and what happens with them, how they fight differently. So the ability to do large print runs, what GMT is doing as a company is very game-like to me. Hey, here's our P500s. We're going to put them out there. If it speaks to you, because we may like the idea, but you guys may hate it, and it'll never get funded. Or they'll put something out that catches fire. Herman, what is it, Luke? I'm going to forget. He's doing his zombie type game. I'm blanking on it. Herman Loopman? Sorry. I hope you're not watching. But it catches fire, and obviously it moves up in the print run, and it feels very gamerish. It's like, that's how I would run a company. If I had the ability to run a company, I would do it like this, because then you folks tell me what I'm going to make, and you pledge with your money, which is what a great way to tell. So let's see. Let me see if there's any other comments that have come in. I'm assuming that's the old lady. Let's see. Okay, no other comments. Okay, good. So let's see. So here I stand. It was very cool. As I kind of mentioned early, but if you missed it, if you came to the show late, my dad had come over to visit, and my wife and I were playing a lot of the new German games, like 2006. Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, Raw. And he played Carcassonne with us and loved it. He loved it so much that he found out my brother, who was still living at home, had an Xbox 360, I think, and he found out he could get Carcassonne digitally and play it. And he was playing hundreds, maybe even thousands of games, to the point where my brother said, "Dad, you're chewing up my off-duty fun time with video gaming." So Dad, of all things, went and bought himself an Xbox 360 just to play Carcassonne. Well, when he visited, we played Carcassonne in person, and I mentioned, hey, there is a game coming out from GMT. I'm thinking about P500ing it, explain that to him, called Here I Stand. Now, he was a Lutheran pastor. He'd gone through seminary at Wartburg, so he did his 4 years and then did 4 more years of seminary at Wartburg in Iowa. And he was like, they made a game about the Reformation? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how? I'm like, I don't know. I heard it's hard, and I was a little intimidated, but if you want to learn it, I'll buy it. And he was like, absolutely. So I pre-ordered. I put it in the P500. Well, sadly, he ends up passing away, and this shows up, and I was like, oh, damn it. Those little things that come across. I'll get to you guys in a second. I see some more comments came in, and I didn't even take it out of the shrink. I buried it down on some shelf somewhere, and I was like, gosh darn it, that kind of thing. So, but a year went by, and then I opened it up, looked at it, and I thought, whoa, does this look complicated? And I put it back away again. And then I got it out because I was just going to put it on eBay and sell it. thinking, you know what, let me get rid of it. I've never played it and blah, blah, blah. And about the same time, a fan of the Whiskey Show who teaches at the Air Force Academy, my co-host was making fun of me because I have so many games, and Here I Stand was out on the table, so I could kind of play all 6 roles and kind of learn how it goes so I could teach it. The teach is what's a little difficult. And Wes Jolly said, oh, I love that game. Me and my buddies get together. We try to play that twice a year. It takes about 10 hours for us to play it, but it's just a wonderful experience. And I was like, perfect. So I've got some folks lined out. I was on a good roll to learn this during the slowdown where games weren't even coming in, new games. Someone's ringing the bell. But when they came in, I thought, let me learn this, or there was no games coming in. Now I still need to learn this. This is one of those where I sat down and I kind of grokked the rules, but I needed to play every position. So I understood how to teach it. And that's where I'm currently stymied. Let's see, not stymied, I just ran out of time. All right, let's see where we're at here. What do we got? Hey, Chief, I have the base game. Oh, sorry, we already did this one. How does it play Solitaire? So we covered that already. We covered the old lady. Reformation history class and seminary. That takes me back to 1985. Beautiful. I was 15 then, Ron. I was in high school trying to just get through high school, but I love it. Again, that's the shrinking of the world. What is Christina Perry? I don't know what Arctech is. Arctech? I don't know what that means, but okay. So we've covered Here I Stand. My goal is to get this. So I've got this kind of understood, but I haven't played through it yet. I'm going to play everybody solo to the point where I can teach it. That will be happening hopefully in 2022. I have lined up several folks to play, some of which love history but don't know much about games, and they're intrigued. We're at 27 minutes. I'm going to try to not go too much longer. It's my daughter's birthday, and we're going out with them later this evening. So let's talk about the 80s. And in the 80s, everything Red Dawn, post-apocalyptic. I lived up in the mountains. There were folks that had moved to the mountains just so they could be safe when nuclear Armageddon happened. There were preppers there that were prepping before they knew what prepping was. And our family didn't do that, but I think being part of the 80s, I definitely had this feeling like it could happen at any time. At the time, I was reading tons and tons of books. There were all kinds of fictional, like young men's books that were, the survivalist, Out of the Ashes, End World was a good one I liked. They all dealt with that end of world type stuff. So when Twilight 2000 came out, I was on board. Somebody else had owned the base game, and we played. And the idea, we had some kind of APC. The making the characters were always fun. The idea that you weren't, I don't know, I wasn't into fantasy then. So the idea, I was into military stuff. So the idea that I was carrying, modern weapons, and in a post-apocalyptic environment, stuck in Poland, trying to get home was our thing. I'd picked up even one of the expansions that allows you to be using the rivers and the lakes that are in Poland. And we gamed, I don't know, I bet you we got in 5 or 6 games on top of a fun time doing character creation and always searching for fuel. It was fuel. We need more fuel. We're almost out of fuel. Got to have fuel. And I think we all got burned out on trying to find things to make fuel. Out came this version here, which was just a blast to read. I never played it again with this, but I loved reading and seeing what they had changed and updated. And so when this came out on Kickstarter as something you could back, I jumped on it immediately. And one of the cool things is they're talking about doing all the old expansions like that Vistula. There's Krakow. I think there's something in Warsaw. And I'm having a blast. I'm probably at the point where I've gotten as much play on this as I ever did with the original one, and I plan on doing more. Now, here's an interesting question for you guys, and then I'll look at the comments coming in here. Again, I'm not doing the channel for business reasons, which is maybe stupid, but I've got my dream job. I can handle my finances now. So anything this show makes, which is very little, Dan was laughing about how much the show makes in revenue. It's like, I think last month I made $29, which is fine because that means I can buy, well, nothing here, but this was like $56 or something. So I can offset my price. I do have Patreon if you like the show, and that helps out a little bit too. But I'm doing it for the fun of it. And that's actually frees me in many ways, because I thought, well, if I do role-playing games on what's typically a board game channel, is it going to make all the war gamers mad or something? And then I thought, you know what? I don't think it would. They may not be interested and they won't watch, but I'm not trying to get mass views anyway. And for me, it was the joy of doing something with Ron and Pancaldi, and I wasn't even sure it would work. And I thought, well, let's give it a shot. And if it sucks, it'll suck. We'll find out. And it's been extremely enjoyable. And the fact that it ties into the show and the title, Bonding with Board Games. I'd had a commenter say, come on, nobody's bonding over war games. Nobody even gets together and plays. And I'm like, man, where have you been? I have people over here that are just doing war games sometimes. If you go to a con, there are people all over the place. It's the internet age. You can find people with your niche hobby. And I felt like he was talking about the 80s, because that's when I was playing B-17 and Ambush, and I wasn't going to drive down to Denver, and there was a group, but I felt like, I don't know these people. And I was pretty isolated. That is not the case. I even explained to him, you can go on Vassal and find all kinds of opponents. And then what we were able to do with playing over the show was just that much more fun. Let me see what we got here real quick. What do we have? What do we got? Uva. I was in southern Germany guarding democracy from the Czechs in '85. Very cool. Very, very cool. Here we go. Good. We got an 85. I was playing Risk in '85. Me too. There was a famous Risk game in our house. My dad agreed to play, and he never wanted to play, and my younger brother played. And when I was in the bathroom, they made a secret pact, and we weren't supposed to have any pacts, and they ganged up on me. And I ended up beating them because the dice were with me that day, but I was a terrible sport, and I was like, in your face. And my dad said he was never playing again. It was terrible. Let's see, Jeffrey, no, why would we be angry? So not angry as a group, I guess, but I've got a role-playing buddy at work. He's a sergeant, and he will teasingly make fun of board games. And I've had some board game buddies that'll teasingly kind of make fun of role-playing, like, ooh, are you going to fight dragons? They'll do that. Now that's all done in good fun. But I'm definitely, I like both. I'd been primarily war games, but the idea that I could tiptoe back into something from the 80s was just fun. And again, I haven't had really any negativity at all. I just wondered, would it be, there are role-playing channels, and I'm definitely more of a board gaming channel, bonding with board games. So it was the bonding aspect I really felt came through by doing these games online. So that was some of my thoughts, Jeffrey, on maybe not angry, but more like, wow, that's not even board gaming anymore. David, would follow your channel anyway, Chief. Been following since the Dice Tower days. Well, thank you. That is awesome. I do miss the three amigos doing ham tag though. Me too. It was good times. I've always told both Greg and Judd the invitation's always open. So if Greg were to come out and say, you know what, I got this game, or I got an idea for a top 5 list, I just want to come in and do one. one show. Yes. So, Greg, if you're watching this, that invitation is still there. Judd and I had a blast. I would love to keep doing them with Judd. Judd has a lot of great ideas. Judd's very active on BGG, and you can see his top 100 that he recently put out. Judd approaches everything like a very, very like hip, nerdy, funny engineer, and that's part of the joy. The three amigos were interesting because Greg definitely brought that skill level, that grognard depth of play. Judd was kind of he would have his little jokes about Mark Herman and some of the wackiness that would ensue. And then I felt like I was the light board gamer that just kind of, I didn't want to go too deep into heavy games, but I was loving this play aspect. The board system is probably one of the coolest things as far as my level of gaming. It's right there. And then good tactical combat solitaire. Or anything like Ambush or B-17, where I could tell I had a role-playing vein that was coming through with this Twilight 2000 stuff that I got very lucky when I bought my Avalon Hill and Victory Games games. So one thing I am planning on doing with this, they have a solo mode in here where you use these cards as a oracle. You're going to have a random encounter. It's a village. You flip a card. It's a village that is warlike and extremely violent. And then you flip a card, but they're open for trade. Well, there's this oracle you can use to drive a solo campaign. And I want to do that. I'm going to do that. This is the first I've mentioned of it, I think. I may have said something while we were doing the games with Dan and Ron, but I'm going to do a solo version. But I wanted to try something. As most of you know, I'm a sergeant with the police department, 26, almost 27 years. And I thought, if I'm doing a solo mode, what if I flip the script and do something from an evil character's point of view, a sadistic killer's point of view. And I use a couple things to help me with that. Obviously, there'll be some personality quirks that I'll have to stay true to for the character, for the role playing. I won't get into like gross out, but it'll be like, clearly they're, almost serial killer like, but without going into gross detail or anything. And then there was a book I had. There was a person I knew in a work environment whose boss had this Machiavellian kind of approach to leadership. And I've always kind of studied leadership a little bit. And the person talked to me and said, you know what, our boss gave out this book to key people or those that he was selecting for future rising in the company or whatever. It was the 48 Laws of Power. I was like, I never even heard of that. And I can't remember the author's name. It's sitting over there. And he said, well, it's bad. It's a bad book. It talks about, like, one of the laws was, and there's a whole chapter on it, but it was strike the shepherd, scatter the sheep. And then it explains how you go after leaders of people in your organization, and you want to get their followers under you, so you've got to take out their shepherd. Bizarre. Now the book has, I went and got it from a used bookstore. The guy's a genius in marketing, because it says if you want to take over a company, or you want to defend yourself from someone who would take over a company, or if you just want to know how power is structured. I'm like, well, that's everybody. He's got everybody in there. The idea is that you can get the book to defend yourself against someone using his techniques. That's got to be one of his power mechanisms or whatever. I got it at a used bookstore for a song, slightly beat up. I think I got it for like $3. I'm like, good, the used bookstore got the money. But my whole point of referencing that is, I thought, what if I use these 48 laws of power to direct my character? It'll be one more thing to push me down a road, because this book is very, like I said, Machiavellian. They had one, like, if someone below you does good work, steal the credit, or a little more in depth than that. But I was like, oh, it's evil. So yeah, that's not how I work at all with my people. So what I've been practicing is like I'll tell Siri, give me a random, select a number from 1 to 48, and it'll give me a number. And I went and looked it up, and I thought, oh, this would be great. So if during that solitaire play session, I'm using my character who's evil, sadistic, and then I did while starting the game, and I'm filming, hey Siri, grab a number, blah blah blah, and then I read that, and then that character for that run has to use that power law. And as reading this book, I won't go into politics, but you can tell, this is my belief, society, the police department I work in, the family I live in, the neighborhood I'm surrounded with and work with, they don't operate off power. It's more like shared competence. So, my captain likes to have me around because I can handle these certain things that I've developed an expertise at, one of which is teaching other people how to be good at what they are good at. Well, that has nothing to do with me stealing their power. That being said, I'm not trying to rise up through the ranks either, so who knows? But that is the kernel of an idea for a character I have. It's darn near a sociological experiment. I'm going to hate this character, but I'm going to stay true and play the character, and I'm going to use these different elements, both the rules of the game, both the character development, and this book to drive this character down, whatever plot line happens. What's very enjoyable with role playing, even as the referee, is what the game masters called in Twilight 2000, 4th edition or earlier, is that I don't know exactly where the story's going to go. The rules flat out say don't over guide, don't put the players on rails, let them move. It's a sandbox game, so it works really well for solitaire. All right, I'm about to wrap up. If anybody has any questions, let me see what's come in. Okay, good. Nothing new. If anybody has any questions, bring those up now. Again, I've been enjoying Paul John. It's an Indian whiskey, a single malt. This is the Christmas edition 2021. If you see that on shelves, it's a very tasty one. I believe it's going to run you about $80, although they did send this to us, so I don't know. It is, the whiskey's been aged in ex-bourbon barrels, so they bought the bourbon barrels from America, with a melange, if I'm saying that right, of port and Madeira casks. So they've also then taken the whiskey out of those bourbon casks, put it in a Madeira cask, used to have Madeira in it, or port wine, and gives it a very, very lovely flavor. Tank Duel, if you like card-based games, Title Bout Gunslinger uses not a similar system, but a card-based system. Nothing to do with time. Gaming Through the Reformation. Here's the other cool thing about this. Because I was learning this, I went and got, oh my goodness, I'm going to forget his name. It's a huge tome of a history books, the history of the Reformation. He and his wife would put them together, and I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Dumont? No, something. Someone will have it in there. I went and read that. Oh my gosh. And now I'm so ready to play. It's great. Hey, there's Mike right there. I'm glad you're enjoying the game. So we have the designer has popped in. Absolutely. Hold on. Sorry, Mike. The designer has popped in. I had it in hand. That is not the whiskey. That was just me shuffling the wrong hand. So yeah, great game. While you're in, Mike, I know War of Tanks was some of the kernel of the idea, but I don't know, was it a big kernel, small kernel? And how it is a very nice design feat, the way you've abstracted things that put action first. The idea that the action rolls as you go. So something I didn't say that's in the first review. When you make a decision, you make the decision of what you're going to do. So am I going to move, try to go to cover? Will that be successful? Am I spotted or whatever? Or am I going to shoot? And then you've made the decision, but now you're flipping the cards to see how that decision plays out. So there's some drama that I get. I think most folks that play this game and that like the card flip type style will get, there's this drama of the flip that comes. Was it successful? Did it penetrate? Was it a catastrophic hit? Similar to the bouncing of the die, and you need a 10 or 11, and well, and you kind of get that, but the card flip is a little bit more like of a reveal. So that's, hopefully I'm not overstating that, but that's one thing I get that feel of that. So what does Davis have here? I've got myself a Lefroy quarter cast for Christmas. Very nice. I just got the Carchus sitting right over there. We just did a review of the Carchus. It's a very good one as well. I think they use Pedro Jimenez cast there. So I love dipping cards. I love dipping cards over dice. There you go. Yeah. The idea of everybody's looking to see and the reveal of it. So, and then the other thing that I covered early on is you have your tank board. The area between you and the other player's tank board is your no man's land. That's your zero space. That's where, the area, the mythical area between you. A question, Mike, you may be able to answer. I was going to get into this when I go over the expansion tanks that come in. I don't know the cost, and I'm sure it's a cost issue, so this may not even be the question for you. But with the tank boards, a lot of the Euro games are doing these double layered boards where they're sandwiched them together and they have a little cutout in them, and it keeps the pieces from sliding around if you bump or jostle the board. Now, I know there's cards that are going in for terrain and there's different areas, and some of it's just charts. But I wondered if they had a dual layered board. It's kind of the new chrome that they're doing on some of the Euro games. That if the cards, but it could drive the cost way too high. If the cards have that dual layer, so that you're kind of able to keep your tokens on a track, and if you bump it, it doesn't jostle or destroys too much. It doesn't move it off its marker spot. Let's see. Cost would be a killer. Okay. Yeah, that's been, I figured the cost alone is running it, but I know that started to become a big thing Eurogame wise, and some of the Chinese production, I didn't know where their cost was at. It would be cool. Yeah, that was the only thing I would notice, is that there would be a jostling, and I'd be like, "Ooh, shoot! Where was I at on move? Or whatever." So, but just kind of came up every once in a while. Like I said, I know that's bling, so that's about it. All right. Any other questions come in before I wrap? I have to go. I think my daughter, for her birthday, wants to spend time with my wife and I, going and seeing Christmas Vacation, the movie, at some special venue. All right. He's going to look into that. It'll be cool. They've done some stuff. And again, I don't know how much it adds. So, they're already layering, but I know it's just paper layer, and now you're talking dual cardboard and all that kind of stuff. So some amazing things going on in China as far as production. Their production level is really hitting a high level. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. If there's no other questions, we're going to run around and do some stuff. You'll see, like I said, I've literally been working on the edit. Work got very, very busy, and I was almost done with my editing, and then I go back and kind of rewatch it, make sure everything's blending nicely. That'll be coming out soon. Hopefully in 2022, I'll get this down where I can teach it to even some kind of board gaming noobs that have never played before, but they want to touch the history. And my idea was, we'll see how it goes, to maybe film it as we go, but it's such a monster game, I could see that being not fun to watch. So first I'll teach it, and if we love it, I may do some marathon shoot or something with it. And then look for me and Dan Pancaldi and Ron, Dan from No Enemies Here, to keep playing our their campaign, where Dan is a NATO Italian sniper. His grandfather fought in North Africa for Rommel. And so he's picked that same unit. He's a NATO guy stuck in Poland in the year 2000-ish. I think it's April 2000. And I will be launching my solo campaign with my sadistic, evil serial killer guy. I don't know if serial killer is the right frame, but it will be dark. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Let me go over. Cheers, Chief. Hold on. Okay, we'll go over these. Nice to catch up, Chief. Have a good day. See you all. Uva, cheers, Chief. Till the next time, stay frosty always, brother. Always. David, hey, Chief, and all. Have a great holiday. You guys too. Happy holidays to everybody and Merry Christmas. Mike, if you would like to go over any of the stuff in Tank Duel, just hit me up. You bet. You know what, Mike? I'd love to have you on. I love doing interviews with the designers to get all the thoughts behind the game. I will reach out to you probably through BGG and send you a message and get you. We can share emails and post holidays sometime in January. Maybe we can get together and do a live and we can take questions from the fans. I would love to do that. Thank you for suggesting it. Kabuki Kid, she is in. Hey, Chief. Hey, Kabuki. How are you doing? Good to see you. Says, hey to the gang. I showed up too late. I see. Well, that's all right. You're never too late. So, but we got until tomorrow. There we go. Never too late. Tank Duel. Yes. We like the way you talk, Kabuki. And Davis Beck, hey, Chief, just finishing up. Yes, sir. I'm going to wrap it up right now. So thank you, everybody, and have a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Looking forward to 2022. It's like we're in the future.